Well, welcome everybody to the Dr. Hank Show. And you know what we do here, that we help you to become wealthier, happier, healthier, and typically in real estate. That real estate is just such an amazing arena. And one of the, like I call it, the three prongs of real estate, and one of the main prongs is investing. And I am just honored today to give you to the CEO of Smart Real Estate, and he's a smart real estate coach. And I've talked to people that have coached with him and that he's helped, and has a summit in March and everything. And they do nothing but just brag on this guy. That Chris Prefontaine, welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, thanks, Dr. Hank. Good to see you again. We were reminiscing. I think it might have been pre-COVID or beginning of COVID. So it's good to hang out with you again.
Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. And, I consider you the master of real estate investing, and how you've helped so many people in different areas. I was working with someone in Chicago, and they had condos, and they, really attributed their success to you. And down in Miami, a guy and doing homes, flipping homes, whatever. You really can help people. And so I think it'll be helpful for us and everybody. You're going to love this session, because you're going to really learn some things about no matter who you are, when you're in real estate or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to hear some things that are going to be helpful to build your health, as your wealth, as well as your happiness. And so, Chris, if you could, kind of the media has that, what's the state of investing? Media is like everything's going to hell, and
Yeah.
and high interest rates and whatever. And what is the real situation on why is real estate investing the time now to do it?
Well, so a couple comments in no particular priority order that come to mind as soon as you say market.
Yeah.
You and I were talking before the show, and you mentioned interest rates being around the average. 50-year average is like 7.7, give or take. Okay. Yeah. And you and I both know when they were double digits. So they're not high. That's number one. Number two, this is the third time in 50 years that we have an affordability challenge or problem, if you will, for buyers, right?
Yeah.
So if it's already a challenge and rates are not high, in my opinion, and I think you share that opinion, what's going to happen when they go even higher? Now, so why am I starting with that? It sounds like doom and gloom. It's not. The market is fine. The media, in fact, if the media is screaming, you should know that it's not the case, because that's the opposite, right? So Here's the punchline, though, Dr. Hank. My wife will say from time to time, how is that change going to affect your market? How is this change going to affect, meaning what we do in creative real estate? We don't use banks. So I always say, great, because there's one constant in real estate, it's that it constantly changes. We know that. So if we know that, why stress over it? Okay. Instead, get really good at the skill set of creative real estate. We call it buying on terms, but it's creative real estate. It's been around since 1600s. So when you get good at it and the market pivots, you don't say, uh-oh, you say, okay, great. Which pond will I fish in now? In other words, where am I going to get my leads through this cycle? That's all it is. And then you become really good, really adept at structuring deals that fit. Because all you're doing, I don't care what the market does, all you're doing is you're helping buyers and sellers. You're sort of a servant. You're just helping. That's what you're doing. You're helping solve a problem or help them accomplish a goal that the market's not allowing them to do. Picture the hundreds of thousands, I don't know what the number is, of buyers, for example, families. I have grandkids. Picture them going to look and buy a house 2 years ago, and they said, oh, no, we'll wait. And then they look at the rates now, they can't afford the same house. Right. That's a bummer. So with us, they can. So there's all kinds of ways we can help people now. And that was a very long answer to say, it doesn't matter once you know creative real estate, what the market's doing.
That is just fantastic. And, and that's a lesson of life, that life is going to change. And when you look at what fits there, and you had put in there, you just structure the investment, you structure, where the need is. And I remember I helped one guy in 2008 in the financial collapse, that he took advantage of the foreclosures and started helping Chase and these big banks, and ended up becoming a billionaire, having $1 billion business. And it's like, oh my gosh, so there's great opportunities. So where would you say, what ponds should we fish in now?
I'll give you a really cool one. So picture all these Well, I'm going to give you a statistic here. I just was on a show and the guy's really into stats. He said, Chris, 90% of the mortgages out there now, this is a big number,
Yeah.
are less than, I wrote it down this morning because I was blown away, are less than 4% rate. 90% because everybody went nuts on the refi, right? Rightfully so. Okay. So if 90% of the rates are below 4, don't you think somewhere, perhaps maybe in that pool of 90%, there are people that need and want to sell? It could be death, could be sickness, it could be credit, it could be I started my business, I have to reload. It could be a number of things, but there are always going to be people that need to sell. And you can buy these houses at, let's just say 2.5 to 4.5%. A student brought me one today at 3.8%. 3.8, Dr. Hank. So,
Wow.
so you buy this house and you have that mortgage for 20, 30 years. How cool would it be if you didn't even do it as an investment? You just did it for your family. You learn the skill set to buy a house for your family at half the rates. People would say, what? Well, how'd you do that? That's what you have the ability to do right now because the buyer pool is drying up for them. And if they have to sell, they would love to sell to you to keep that mortgage in place in their name. You just take it over.
Wow. That is fantastic. And so can you help us, like, how does that work? Like, how do you, let's say I want to get in contact with you and, your systems that you have on just a really phenomenal way and maybe talk a little about overall what you do bring on, you don't need much money and whatever, there's,
Right.
different things that you do. And then specifically, how do you help? So let's say I'm a new investor, and so how do you help me, and what systems do you have?
Yeah, we're big on free, Dr. Hank, because and the reason I say that is if I let people look for free at as much stuff as they can, you, the listener, can say to yourself, okay, there's all these shiny objects in real estate. There's all these niches. A lot of them are great. I'm not so naive to think it's just creative real estate. I'm biased, but I'm not so naive to think that's the only one. So you get to look for free. You get to go to YouTube, you punch in Smart Real Estate Coach, and you can see, gosh, I don't know what it's up to now, 250, 200 deals. We expose them. So you look at those and you say, okay, I got a gist for what they do. Dr. Hank and I are going to give you a free link just for his group that you can get the book. So after that, if you say, okay, now it's something to your question I want to look further into, we have an online academy that is always updating. It's always a living, breathing, improving entity, so to speak, online. So you get to go through that academy. Then if you say, look, I want to get aggressive with this, I want to make a life change, or I want to leave my W-2, which we've been helping people escape for years. If you want to do that, we do have a program even higher level that says, okay, let's lock arms together. Let's do deals together, revenue share. So we're in this together and we have the same goals to get to the finish line. There's no better way, in my opinion, you notice from the mindset stuff than learning interactively in the trenches. There is simply no better way. So that's what we do, different than going, here's a course, good luck.
Yeah, that is just amazing. So what I heard there is, I have the Smart Real Estate Coach on YouTube. You actually have deals there, and so
we post a lot of real deals. It's all real stuff. No, not always the fluffy. Like we post challenges too. We post everything, so you know.
Yeah. But that's amazing. And then you have this academy that will teach you. And can you go through the basics? And I know last time, several years ago, that we went through kind of the basics on what you do. And can you kind of walk us through to give us a taste for, a flavor for how do you do this for free? How do you get, under 4% interest rate? How do you do that?
Well, okay, I'll start with who we talk to. So we speak with sellers who fall into these categories, at least initially. This is advanced stuff for a different day, but we talked with for sale by owners who are out there looking to sell. They just don't know their options. We talked to for rent by owners. A lot of them are tired after COVID. They're just tired of renting. And we talked to expired listings. Expired listings are people that tried to sell. They didn't for whatever reason and expired with their realtor. So that's who we speak with. Then, as I alluded to earlier, all we do is find out with that particular seller, is there a problem they're trying to solve? Can we solve it with creative real estate? Or is there a goal they're trying to accomplish, like with the purchase of this building I'm standing in? He was debt-free. He didn't have a problem. He was trying to structure some estate planning, some tax planning, and wanted his price. He was trying to accomplish those three goals, and the conventional market wasn't giving it to him. So that's all we do. Look for ways to help people and then see if it fits into one of our buying strategies. We only buy three ways. So you'll know if it's going to fit. It's going to be a owner financing, or it's going to be with those existing low rate mortgages. It's going to be subject to existing financing. People call it sub two. And third, lease purchase. That's the only three ways we buy. So you just listen once you have the skill set to say, is this going to fit in one of those buckets, so to speak?
Wow, that's easy.
Once you know it, it's easy.
Yeah. See, and I just love that, and to get to know it on the academy, and so there you go. So you're basically looking for three types, and I love the three, and mind, body, spirit. It reminds me of the FSBO, and then the for rent by owner, and then you look for the existing rate and on the mortgage. Can you talk about the existing rate? So give me an example. Give us an example of how that plays out. Like, so you find this person, and so can you give me a real example that happened recently?
Unlike this building that was free and clear, and the gentleman, of course, was not stressed financially, the existing loans usually lend itself to people that do need help right away. So I'll give you an example. There was a couple. One was on the mortgage, one was on the deed. They were getting divorced. It was not amicable, sadly. They had maybe watched too many home network channels, and they would rehab this whole house on credit cards. And so they were like maxed out credit card too. They tried with a realtor. It was an expired listing. My son-in-law called it. Zach, I think you've met Zach.
Yeah.
So come to find out, they were about $4,100 in arrears. They were behind. They were not getting along, as I said. One was in one state, one was in the other. The house was empty. So what did they need? They either let it go to foreclosure and mess their credit up for 7 years, or someone like us comes along, cures the arrears, the 4,100, and makes the subsequent mortgage payments. Now, we still own this house, Dr. Hank, and believe it or not, there's an attorney in it who went through law school and got her credit messed up. So we have a way to help her get her credit improved, and then she'll eventually buy it. But in the meantime, the sellers got caught up in their payments, so their credit is showing like it's current. That only took a few months. As you know, it takes like 6 months to cycle instead of 7 years if they had a foreclosure. And we pay the loan. Now, the loan stayed in their name. We do not take over. We do not assume. We do not apply. The loan stayed in the couple's name. We're just paying it. How cool is that? So you go to sleep at night knowing you're not on personally on any loans. I already lived that. I lived the other side of that during 2008. Don't do that. No reason to sign personally.
Yeah, that's just incredible. And so, the detail on how to do that and how to be able to, get your money back. So, like, how does that play out?
So there's a $4,100 in arrears. So people say, wow, you had to pay that. Well, yes, big but, we find buyers who need time to get a loan. That's all it is. They just need time. Now, who are some examples? During COVID, there was, as you know, a major onslaught of people leaving W-2 and starting their own business. Yeah. They have good money. They have good cash reserves. They're not financeable yet. If your listeners aren't aware of that, like, if you start a new business or change jobs, you need 2 years seasoning, they call it. The bank wants to see that. Most loans. Yeah. So that's a great set of buyers who have a down payment. So they come in and give us a non-refundable down payment. On that deal I mentioned, we got $41,000 down. We had to pay the arrears of $4,100. That's okay. It's some closing costs. So that's our payday number one. You may remember we have a 3 payday we trademarked federally. So payday one is they give the down payment. They're a buyer. It's non-refundable. Yeah. Payday two, we're paying on that couple's loan every month. But the buyer in that home, the attorney, is paying us something greater than that every month. That's a little spread there we make. So that's payday two. And payday three, when we cash that out, will be the increase in price plus all of the principal pay down that happened on that loan while we were making the payment every single month.
Oh my gosh, that's just fantastic. And so that makes what else would be helpful for it's really incredible on how you do that. And I remember that 3 payday and that, how you get it and they had cash down, they put down, so you paid in $4,000 whatever, and they paid you $40,000, and so now you're cash flush, and now you make money off of that. And it's just like, what was the third one on how you got the payday?
The payday three. Payday
Yeah.
3 is whatever we bought the home for, we marked it up. So there's a little spread there. But also, remember, we were paying on someone's underlying loan, the past sellers.
Yeah.
That loan has inherent principal pay down, of course, in every payment.
Ah,
So even though the buyer was paying us with it and we were paying the payment, that principal was going down every single month. So when we cash that out, I don't care how long it goes, because when we cash that out, it's going to be all the loan's going to be that much less.
oh my gosh, that's just fantastic. Yeah. And so more equity in the house, more
Yeah.
you get when
Yeah.
it's sold. And then the attorney guy is paying you more money than what you're paying for that to do it. How do you, what's the legal device that you use in order to, ensure that you have it?
Yeah.
That, that, yeah.
We have an attorney. It took us a while. We got this attorney during COVID who doesn't just deal with our area. We had that, but we have one now that deals in 32 states.
That's
So
great.
a lot of the students can access he has a law firm and a title company in 32 states.
Wow.
And then the short answer is we have all the forms, agreements, checklists that we use, Dr. Hank, in just one of the modules in that academy. That module alone is like a bonus module. It's probably worth 20 grand because it's got all our agreements that we've tweaked for the last 10 years.
Wow.
And I mean, they get into the whole academy for a grand or so or less.
Yeah.
And that mod is worth,
Yeah.
crazy money.
That's great. And so that, so you mentioned that attorney is in 32 states, but these documents could be used in do you know, is he in Texas, for example, that, I'm in Texas, that are we in Texas?
Yeah. Texas has one tweak. Out of the 3 ways we buy,
Yeah.
lease purchase, what we call a sandwich lease, you cannot do in Texas. There's a whole module that would just Texas agreements. There's a separate module for Canadian, slightly different. But in general, yes, you can use them everywhere. Have your local attorney, if it's not the one we use, just
Got
eyeball them. But usually it's things like,
so you can do all states. You can do-
local laws, but nothing crazy you have to tweak.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. And once you get into it, once you get it for your state, then you're done with
Form
in order to do it.
Yep.
And so, how many opportunities that so like what would be the best place? Like, where are you seeing the most business, or is business everywhere, and how big does the market have to be? Anything on that, so people can feel a comfort level on, hey, I could do this where I'm at.
That's good. That's a really good question, only because some niches like larger apartment building, things like that, they do teach to be geographic about it and be careful with cycles and all this stuff.
Yeah.
In our world, you don't have to be concerned about cycles. And I don't care where you are geographically, you're usually going to find within a 50-mile radius of where you are, where you live, so it's convenient, you can find enough deals. And why do I say enough deals? Our 3 paydays, Dr. Hank, range community-wide now, East Coast to West Coast. They range a low of 45 grand or so up to like $250,000 for deals. So how many of those do you really have to do? If like we had a guy leave his job after 30 years for the government. He did 5 deals. His name is Rick in New Hampshire. He did 5 deals. They were all 100,000 or more. So then he gave his notice after 30 years of the government. So that's what I mean by you don't need to, within 50 miles, find 50 deals. You need to find a few.
Wow. That's fantastic. So when you say $100,000 on average a deal, that's how much he's taking home?
He's taken that home all 3 paydays. So remember, that's not day one. That's payday 1's day 1. Payday 2's monthly, and payday 3's down the road.
Oh,
so you have a nice kind of, if you and I were going to go in business tomorrow and we are going to open a restaurant, that would be a cool cash flow model. Cash now, right. Cash monthly, cash later. Everybody would be like, okay, that's a good model.
I'll do that one. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, I think that I have a pretty clear understanding, and I think, our listeners do that, and viewers that, do you, anything else? Because I do want to get into your event, the Wicked Smart Summit, and I love your creative terminology and words you use. It's great. But is there anything else that you think might be helpful that we could understand about what you're doing to help understand on how easy it is really to get into this and to start making some money?
I would just say this to all the listeners, viewers. I said earlier, there's a bunch of niches in real estate, right? Just be careful not to get what I call the shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
because there are marketers and they're very good marketers. We don't tout ourselves as being great marketers. We know how to do deals, but there's a lot of marketers out there that'll tell you, okay, tomorrow you can get rich quick. You're not going to get rich quick tomorrow in real estate. I don't care what niche you touch. What I can tell you is find a niche that you like, that you think you can get behind, because ours is like very helpful for people. It's win-win. Others are different.
Yeah.
Second, find someone in the niche that can kind of point you the way you want to go. They've been there. They've been through market cycles, etc. And third, really important, put the blinders on for 3 years minimum. I say 3 to 7. After Brian Tracy was on my podcast and he said, nope, 3's too short. You need 7.
Yeah.
So you got to put the blinders on, or else you're going to be distracted by shiny objects and not get anywhere.
Right.
You're gonna be running from
Yeah.
I call it well drilling.
Yeah, and I love that blinder idea because it's so easy for, there's so many shiny objects in the world now, and more than ever. Yep. And shiny objects, not necessarily good shiny objects.
Right.
I had a client that was all upset about what's happening in Israel, and was starting to destroy his friendships and his business because he was fighting about all this, and it's like you really want to and whatever we focus our attention on grows, and if you're focus your attention on, hey, I want to just stick to this, that in that 3 to 7 years. And it's interesting, I wrote a book with Brian Tracy, and I actually have it in the other room, but Brian Tracy, he's remarkable and a great guy. And so with that can you tell us a little about your summit, or what offer, what would you like to share? What's an easy way to get in to start understanding what you do and how you can help us become a investor without really much money?
Yeah, I think the best way, we already gave YouTube, the best way to kind of break into what we're doing is go ahead over to wickedsmartbooks.com/Hank in the numeric number 1, because you'll get it for free. It's not the offer that says put in shipping. We ship it. It's our cost.
Give me that again.
wickedsmartbooks.com/Hank and then the numeric number 1. And then you'll get a couple free books. It's 2 out of 4 of our best sellers. It's the ones that won't distract you, though. So it's the foundational ones. And then you mentioned the summit. Thank you so much. We're back to 2 events a year.
That's great.
It's way better. I mean, virtual was cool when it was COVID, as you and I know, but then it gets a little old. Like, you want to shake a hand and relate.
Yeah. Nothing like being in person.
This is totally different. And we, after going through it, I know the difference now for sure. And so the summit, the Wicked Smart Summit, is March 22 through 24 here in Rhode Island. And it's a tremendous group. Hosts like yourself come in just for networking and participate or not, but they're there networking and helping. And then we have some phenomenal family members and team members that speak. They're only people, Dr. Hank, that are in the trenches too. Like, these students and coaches cannot get in that position until they've gone through the ranks and done deals.
That's great. That's great. And no better place to be. And there's in person that, for all of us, I would encourage you, like, I'm out giving talks now, and it's just amazing all the opportunities that weren't there in COVID, and we were kind of stuck with, just staying in our offices or whatever and Zooming it. And it's a great way to initially get it out, but to do that. And that is, I heard from those investors, and they've become successful and they've become independently wealthy. One of them actually wanted to move back to their homeland and did because of your system. And so you help people to have their dreams come true. And so there you go again, wickedsmartbooks.com/Hank1, and you can get started on just understanding how to get involved in this. And I would encourage everybody to go to that summit. And I know on your website it was up there, and which one is that? Would it be the Smart Real Estate?
They can just go smartrealestatecoach.com is always up. The event will be at wickedsmartsummit.com.
Okay, Wicked. So go to Wicked Smart Summit in order to do that. And it's a beautiful time of year there too. And
it really is. Yeah.
Wicked starts Smart Summit, and and I'm just taking notes on all of this. It's just great stuff, and I would encourage all of you to go there and really to get to understand and meet Chris, and his team is phenomenal. And again, I've met them and know what they've done. I've heard all kinds of people that have become successful with that.
Love it.
So with that, it's been a pleasure, Chris, having you on the show. Is
Same
there
here.
anything
Appreciate
you'd
it.
like to leave us with?
Those nuggets are there. Just know that you can do it. Don't listen to the media, because we're back to the beginning of the show. We said this. Just
Yeah.
go on your own path. Find someone to show you the way. We're happy to
Yeah,
help.
that's fantastic. Well, we thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for helping so many people to get out of their W-2 and experience that freedom. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, is for more freedom, and the prize is joy. And so if you want that, contact Chris and, get his books, go to the summit, and start living the life of your dreams. And with that, love you all. Thanks so much for being on again, Chris. And all of you know that everything that you want is coming your way, starting right now.